We've regained the bank, but we're still on the brink. After these post-truth years we don't know what to think. We've learned to accept the end of before. The worlds of our past are never no more. A virtual future is now increasingly felt. Glaciers of certainty are on the melt. Into digital oceans of the seen and sawn. Where everything everywhere rises, in an endless dawn. And remains unimmortal, in underwater clouds. The archive becomes us. So long promised, but it's happening at last. Did you see how it cloned Joe Rogan's podcast? Drip drip dripping one memory at a time, like little Vlad's erasing Ukrainian mind. Generating realities all for very us. From what we did, said, thought, discussed. Making things up that it thinks we might like. A flamingo in a snorkel or a platypus wearing Nikes. The giggling silicone lads have let the beast loose. And it's coming over here for our jobs. I saw a film of Pelosi clubbing a seal. I'll bet a silver dollar you can't tell if it's real. Deepfake video in the hands of trolloons will be treated to all that in the coming soons. Some have attempted to appeal for calm. It can't think in narrative, it can do us no harm. But it's not story thinking that's troubling us. It's the NRX bastards still driving the bus. Off to New Zealand with a topped-off tank, and they'll be alright, Jack. But to be very honest, we haven't the strength to go on like that as if we knew what it meant. We're just out of rehab, confused but doubled down. After Abdullah done treat us like his luxury clown. I thought we could trust him, but it turned out not. We finally twigged he was using a bot. The decision at last was to turn over a new leaf. And return to the easel out solar motif. Where we shall search the season for symbolic themes, with the Dutch demon as. Next year's heading for another big crunch. We'll be collectively out to a naked lunch. But it's nothing like the danger of debauched narcotics. Dependence is the norm if you check under the bonnet. The sugar, the caffeine, the net, the phone. Harmless addictions to keep us prone to the tick of the gambling and the talk of the tube. We live out a fiction we know we can't lose. Our poison is the drama to be found on Netflix. But we want off that junk. We can't know what's real if it all sounds the same. And it's more than the usual ninnies playing conspiracy games. There are still bad actors, more than a few. But now we can't know the people we knew. It's the everything stupid, as Ben Swain once said. You can use it in the office, at home or in bed. Creating waves of data, breaking news on infinite shores. An archipelago of realities to exploit all the more. All of us bidding for the ruby red slippers. But the kids just love it. Remember critical art? Now, I'm not so sure. Has it morphed into something it wasn't before? Among subtle talk of authorship issues. A choice between the shotgun and a box of tissues. And the climate emergency hasn't gone away. But disrupting the billiards isn't the best way. I wish them luck, but for us it's too loud. Perhaps we might try and come off the cloud. Let's host a Sunday server from the studio barn. Where we shall preach abstinence. It's easier said but a lot harder done. While we're stuck to the tech like the trigger on a gun. So we'll try and come off it as much as we can. But with one eye on it, and the other on the man. Watching the big match on a pitch of fake grass. A divided people versus the vectorialist class. See how we go on, but we made ourselves a promise. to focus on the painting to keep us honest. I applied for opportunities as a good artist would. But that didn't do fuck all. Left only with doing to orientate the brain. And the eccentric desire to try and remain sane. We looked for a place to take the wretched in me. And found, by chance, your contemporary care facility. A sanatorium for the well, sounds like the ticket. To keep from going to seed or brick in it. But there's something that must be known if you invite us to dance. We'll go on like a drunk student given half the chance. And if anyone's said enough already, it's us. Isn't that right, Borg? We must remember Faircloth's escapist view. And his debauched embrace of all that is new. Because with all the confusion, whinging might creep in. Why not enjoy a life that is clearly a win? But it just isn't in us to participate in the Munching Troff. We're stuck seeing the world through Vincent van Gogh. And the dark matter mindset that we just cannot shake. Even though for years it's felt like a mistake. With all this to think on, I apply for room and board. At the Grayskull Infirmary. Fusing art into life is still a good mission. But such are the times we've thrown in a spot of fiction. An auto one at that, which ties us all together. Like the digital twins that'll help us live forever. So you must put up with that as we must too. I tried to kick it with Abdullah but it was a no can do. Tafla I say, at the Insta-Tube face gram chat panic. There's enough ego online to raise the Titanic. Such is the now life and we must have our say. But we hit all the wrong notes. There is unfinished business with the Borg, Abdullah and Mr. Algren too. But before we get stuck in we better have a little talk to you. To explain our rationale might take a few letters. And a regular correspondence would be even better. There's a project or two I have planned for the year. And it all goes so much better if there's a sympathetic ear. To tell of the do, the doing, the trying and the done. Of the sky, the fields, the trees and the sun. Let's begin with a ploughed field to symbolize a fresh start. Before the young wheat sprouts,